Hello, my name is Pikiss-Chris,
My name is Bastard Swordsman.
and the name of this podcast is Scenes from a Podcast. Uh, Beautiful bouncing baby we've made, isn't it?
I mean, hasn't it's been asleep for a little while, nap time, but now it's awoken to screech
Yes.
again for like an hour.
Yeah. Our baby is woke. It's rebelling against its parents. Uh,
Uh, and it
and
will be broke because it will not get allowance.
yes. All right.
That's why they say go woke, get broke. No, it's get woke, go broke, I think.
I mean, both mean basically the same thing. Anyways, we're gonna talk about what we've been up to lately, and then we're gonna get into talking about the movie. So, what about you, Mr. Swordsman? Are you broke?
No, I've been working my cringe 9 to 5 a lot, so I mean, I have money, but not a lot of time. But in my free time, I've just been watching anime. And yesterday, I started watching the newest Gundam series, which is called The Witch from Mercury.
The Witch from Mercury.
Yeah.
I
And the central relationship is a lesbian one.
they do love lesbians over there in Japan, don't they?
Yeah, but uh, usually Gundam has had more homoeroticism on the other end.
Oh yeah, Shinji is like he's like implied to be bi, right?
It's not really implied, but that's also not Gundam.
I know, but like it's the mecha like genre. I mean,
Yeah, but only watched like a couple episodes, but pretty decent start. Honestly, half of the Gundam series that I've seen are pretty garbage, but there's some good ones.
well, I mean that's just Murphy's law at work. That is Murphy's law, right?
I think so. Well, Murphy's Law, I believe, is just no. Wait, no, that's a different law. Murphy's Law, I believe, is like if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. That's Murphy's Law.
Murphy's law. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm wrong. I don't know what the law I was thinking of was. We have too many laws.
No, you were thinking of Sturgeon's Law, not
Yeah,
which is 90% of everything is crap.
yeah. I don't know. Murphy just sounds catchier, I guess, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
like, yeah, Murphy's Law means if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And I believe there's a bar in the city I live in called Murphy's Law, which is a funny name for a bar.
it's like an Irish pub, right? No, Scottish.
Yeah. No, it's Irish. I mean, the Irish are more well known for drinking, and the Scottish are well known for wearing skirts.
The kilts. I can't do a Scottish accent.
I'm actually Scottish and Irish, but I can't do an accent for either.
I know at the very least I'm Scottish, but like I don't know a damn thing about Scotland.
I mean, uh, Ewan McGregor's from there, I think.
Oh, oh,
That's all I know.
oh, wow, that's
I mean,
that's neat.
they didn't really have a lot of colonies as far as I can tell, unlike Britain.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, not really anything I've been up to. What about you, my friend?
All right. So, first of all, I've finally gotten my claim payment back for my car insurance, which is something that I was owed like 2 weeks ago, but because of like a mistake on like the form I filled out, they like dicked around with like canceling it and like just having me resubmit the information, which is something that they just should have let me do from the beginning. But I'm not gonna
Epic fail.
I'm not gonna complain about insurance and how it's a big scam, because I think I'm over it by this point. At least I got my money back and I've got like a new car. You know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh, what?
actually, there is one thing I forgot to mention. If there isn't anything else you have to say.
Uh, I do, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
So I recently got tickets to go to a concert, which isn't until September, but it's the band Ween, which is one of my favorite bands.
Those are the those are the big fat fuck guys.
Yeah, the big fat fucks.
I
And they
couldn't.
did Ocean Man, but yeah. It's funny that you remember them for Big Fat Fuck because that's like one of their deep cuts.
I mean, big fat fuck is it's just like a funny song title, but like I personally consider that song to be my leitmotif. My leitmotif.
I think it's leitmotif.
I mean, Sideways. He's like the big music guy on YouTube. He pronounces it leitmotif. So
I think
I'm
he's
just
wrong.
I don't know, man. I trust
I have no
people
idea.
who know more about music to like know more about music than me, but like,
I only trust myself.
yeah, trust no one, not even yourself.
True.
Yeah. Uh,
So, oh, never mind.
yeah. Other than that, the other thing I've been up to is I actually like directed. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I work in the news. I directed like a pre-recorded interview between one of our anchors and Sebastian Maniscalco. I can't pronounce his last name. The guy who's like making the new Robert De Niro film about my father. So,
I have not heard of that.
all right. It's basically it's basically the guy's basically the son of De Niro, and the film is like about his relationship with his dad. So
So he's clout chasing.
I mean, I guess, but like De Niro himself is in the movie. At least I think he is. So
That would be kind of messed up if you didn't show up for your son's own film.
yeah. Dad, I'm making a film about you. I'm not fucking interested.
I think De Niro, like, he has a partner who is currently pregnant, so he's gonna be a dad again at like 80.
You gotta respect the Riz. You gotta respect the Riz.
Yeah, but that means like the kid, like, he might be dead by the time the kid's in middle school.
I mean, yeah, probably.
Hmm, I
That's
don't know.
yeah. I mean, that's how they did it in ye olden days when Charlemagne was making the Holy Roman Empire. So
Yeah, they needed, everyone needed to have like 30 kids so that they'd have an heir or whatever.
they needed to have 30 kids so the human race wouldn't go extinct.
I mean, I guess.
Uh, yeah. We got anything else to talk about, or do you want to just get right into the movie?
Let us proceed into the scene of the podcast.
All right, so today's film was the 1954 Alfred Hitchcock film, Rear Window. It's a very famous film. It's probably my personal favorite Hitchcock film. Uh, it's about this man, this uh, news photographer with a broken leg who's passing the time as he heals, just sort of voyeuring on his neighbors in this little apartment complex when he supposedly sees one of his neighbors murder his wife, and then he becomes obsessed with proving the murder. So yeah, just in case you've never heard the plot synopsis for this very famous, very discussed film before, but
Spoilers for a really old movie that you should have probably seen by now.
yeah, spoilers for a film that, like, if you didn't see it in your college course about films, your teacher,
Your professors failed you.
yeah,
I
basically,
mean, not like giving you a failing grade, but they failed.
yeah. Uh, I think it's really interesting because the because this protagonist, I can't remember his name, but
I think his name, um, L.B. Jeffries or something.
yeah, it was Jeffries. Uh, he he's like a fence sitter in the sense that, like, he he's the sort of person who convinces himself that he's content with the life he has.
But he's
Just
also not.
yeah, and a big reason of why he's such like a voyeur is because, like, he's just sort of seeing the very domestic, you know, life that his neighbors have. They're a lot of them are married or have kids or are of are married couples that have been together for a while, and he, one of the major characters is like this love interest who keeps trying to convince him to join, to make it official, but he keeps like putting it off because he doesn't think it'll work long term. But he still wants it, and he's still like living it out through watching others instead of grabbing it himself. And I think that's what the
Um,
film I think that's what the film is really about, more than the actual murders.
Imagine having to dwell on whether or not to marry Grace Kelly.
It is a bit Hollywood-esque, especially considering the fact that she's like a rich, like, model girl.
And then the actress became royalty in real life.
Really?
Yeah, she became the Princess of Monaco.
Oh.
Um, I really like this film. I would not consider it my favorite Hitchcock film, and I'm not even. Well, I was going to say I don't know if it's in my top five, but it probably is my number five. I think he has some better movies, but it is a really good one, and the definitely one of the best parts of the film for me is the camera work. And like, the camera work in this film is really meta, obviously, because the film is about a dude watching other people, but you're watching other people too through this dude's perspective. So it like puts you into this perspective of Jeffries, who's a voyeur, and it also makes the comparison to cinema being a form of voyeurism, albeit into the lives of fictional characters. Although you can say that, art is a form of voyeur into the soul of the creators and all that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like You could also say it's exhibitionism on their end because they're like putting themselves out there by showing us their opinions and their tastes and their like the sort of things they want to show the world. Uh, I will say, parallel to the camera work, I think the set design is also really neat too. The whole film basically, no, it does take place in the same area from like start to finish, this apartment complex, and you know it doesn't feel boring. The film is, I think, 2 hours long at least,
Just under 2 hours.
just under 2 hours, and I never really got bored with the setting, and I never really realized that the setting didn't even change because not only is there a lot of plot intrigue with the, the voyeurism trying to figure out the murder, but
It's a
I
very
also,
well paced film.
yeah, I also think that like the side characters, sort of the supporting cast, are all you only really see them through like this man's perspective. You only really get glimpses into their lives, but they feel like fully fledged people with their own lives and stories going on. There's the ballerina dancer who's like having to juggle all of these philanthropists who are funding her work or something, but she doesn't want to be with any of them. You have the married couple with their dog. You have the piano man. They all feel the world feels lived in.
It's interesting because we don't actually get to spend any time with the characters, but just from what we can see, a lot of the characters have like, their own stories and actual arcs that play out through the film. And it's like done so indirectly, but it's a very unique form of storytelling. And one thing you mentioned is that the film takes place in one setting, and I think the camera doesn't even, or is at least like made to seem like it never leaves the apartment building a single time until Jeffries falls through the window.
Yeah, it sort of follows his perspective of events throughout. I don't even think that like whenever we cut to a certain segment of the apartment complex, it ever deviates from the perspective we first see it from. When we see one neighbor's apartment, it's always from that angle, and that's more or
Yeah,
less true through the entire movie.
it's it's definitely a really fun film, especially for the time. Like it's not like it's definitely not one of Hitchcock's darker films, but it, like I mean, there's murder in it, but for a film, following a murder, it's relatively light and very enjoyable. Like there's like, a hot babe, there's a lot of wisecracks from both Jeffries, played by James Stewart, and his caretaker. I also really like James Stewart as an actor. He has a very unique personality and just also a very recognizable voice.
Yeah, his character, the way he's written, I mean, he's well acted, obviously, but he's sort of in this. He's kind of the typical Hollywood like machismo like man, but there's also like more depth to him than that. Like
One thing I really liked about the Hitchcock films with James Stewart is that, like, James Stewart, his reputation in Hollywood was as like, well, obviously he came before, but as like a sort of friendly neighborhood like guy, like Mr. Rogers or something. But his roles in Hitchcock films tend to be a bit more like nuanced.
yeah, yeah, but uh you know he has this conversation with his love interest at one point in the film, and it actually like, to me at least, it felt like really natural because he's actually like trying to like explain his point of view in a way that's like they're basically arguing about whether or not they should get together, and he's arguing for why he thinks that they shouldn't, and instead of like just putting her down as like, oh, you silly woman or whatever, he's trying to like be semi respectful about it, and he doesn't really like blow up or be like antagonistic until after she like keeps interrupting him. I think that's like a very like interesting, nuanced sort of take on like a domestic argument.
Well, he's not an asshole,
Yeah,
or not a huge one.
yeah, but you don't often. This isn't me being like they showed a healthy relationship in a movie. 10 out of 10. This isn't me being like that. We see a lot of melodrama when it comes to like domestic life, and this one just felt like a lot more real to me than what we see in a lot of modern films, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, they don't entirely like talk everything out, and they just
Yeah.
honestly, thanks to that woman being murdered, their relationship was saved.
Yeah. Can you often say that someone dying saved your relationship?
Um, I don't know if I should comment.
I was gonna
Just
make
kidding.
I was gonna make a really dark joke, but I realized I might be going too far if I did. Oh God. Uh, yes, it was about abortion, but
Oh, I wasn't even thinking of that. Damn, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty out there.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, but
I'm not going to say anything about that.
yeah. Back to the movie. Another thing I like is how like the main antagonist, the killer, is portrayed. You don't like really get much of a sense of his like personality or hear him speak until like the very end of the movie, but even with like the dynamic of the film where like he doesn't know that someone is onto him and someone's trying to like expose him, he still feels really threatening. uh his actor just has like this really nice appearance. A lot of it is costume work, but he has this nice appearance where he looks normal enough, but there's also kind of like a sinister edge to him. Uh, I especially like the white hair. You know, it's just like a nobody else in the film I think has white hair, and it sort of gives him like a very off-putting vibe. You know.
He's like Sephiroth.
Yeah. He went one winged angel on that woman's ass, but
Yeah,
I've never played Final Fantasy VII.
yeah. I mean, pretty sure the song's called "One Winged Angel" because he has one wing,
Does he now?
and that's it.
So how does he fly? Never mind. Uh, yeah, he's a very like effective villain. I wouldn't say interesting. I'd say effective. Uh, because the film isn't really about finding out who did it. You basically know from the beginning that he did it because it's the only choice that makes sense. It's more so about like finding enough evidence to expose him and not like and for Jeffrey and everyone who's like helping him to not like second guess themselves. It's a very interesting dynamic. Uh,
Yeah.
there was another film that came out on Netflix that's a couple of years ago. It was basically like a whole plot reference to Rear Window that more or less like did the same plot. but it had like this really weak twist at the end where the person who was set up to be the murderer wasn't the murderer, and it was like this completely different character, and it was such a dumb twist, and it led to such a dumb action horror movie finale. It just really took me out of it. It just ruined the rest of the movie for me.
That sounds pretty lame. If
Yeah.
there's another movie that has the plot of Rear Window, I'm not going to watch it. Um, I kind of prefer a few of Hitchcock's other movies. Like this one definitely has like a lot of silly moments, but in terms of his like comedies, I think North by Northwest is a lot more fun, just for me. And I think like Hitchcock is also at his best when he's like really like psychological and dark and stuff. So I personally prefer well, Vertigo is my favorite, and Psycho is also really good. Rebecca is another really underrated one. But yeah.
Vertigo is like my second favorite. I mean, I like the plot of Vertigo a lot better, but in terms of, I just think it's like really interesting from like a technical perspective how Hitchcock in this film is able to like keep the same setting, keep the same point of view, and have a very limited cast of like 3 to 4 like main characters and keep it interesting for almost 2 hours. I
I mean, absolutely. For like a lot of directors, this could be like your best film, and you could still be like a pretty good director overall.
Yeah.
There was one part that I didn't care for concerning a technical aspect, which is when Jeffries is about to be thrown out the window, and it shows like the people coming out of their houses to like, see what's going on. And like the footage is just sped up. So it
Oh
looks
yeah.
like really unnatural. Like for the most part, Hitchcock is like, the master of suspense. And, I would agree with that. He definitely deserves that title. But in like, this is just a very little case where I think like it was a technical decision to sort of like ramp up the tension, but it didn't quite work for me, and it looked a little artificial.
Yeah, I mean, it's the climax, and it's really the only scene in the movie that does that. The rest of the film is,
Yeah,
you know, not that you should use like speed up if otherwise, but the film is
M. Night
very,
Shyamalan did that.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, and Lady in the Water.
Oh God, I
Yeah.
forgot about that film.
Uwe Boll did that at the end of Alone in the Dark. I mean, this movie's a lot better than those two movies, though.
Well, it's just like the only time you'd ever say Uwe Ball and Hitchcock in the same sentence is if you're like dunking on Bowl, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, Honestly, even forgot that guy existed. Like he
he
stopped
stopped
making,
making. Yeah, he stopped making movies. He basically just rage quit.
yeah, German tax loopholes were fixed so he couldn't like keep making ass.
Well, he was living in Canada, but yeah,
Uh, what else is
I
there to
don't
say?
know.
I mean,
I think this
speaking
is like a really what? Oh, sorry.
I mean, speaking of like goofy things, I do kind of think that the one aspect of the film I do kind of like raise my eyebrow at is just like the conception that Jeffries is in a relationship with this perfect like rich supermodel girl. It
I mean, he's a famous actor, though.
I not the character, not the actor. I I don't know. I just think like
Well, we don't know what he was like in his like during his prime when he didn't have a broken leg.
yeah, but the rest of the movie is like told like in this very like compact setting. So it's kind of we don't really have much context for how this relationship started, and it feels very like out of place compared to like the groundedness of the rest of the film. Actually, I
I
do
mean,
think sorry. I actually do think that the way the film started with like this shot of like all of these photos he took, and the first one we see is like the racetrack crash that sort of got him in his leg injury. I thought that was a very clever way to explain.
yeah, that's a very good subtle visual storytelling.
Yeah. All right. What were you gonna say?
Oh, just yeah, she's like he has a broken leg and he's like, you know, stuck in his house and she comes over to take care of him. She's like mommy material.
Yeah. I mean, it does kind of that is part of why I question it. It does feel there is something to be said about guys who don't like go after women who are throwing themselves, especially if like the affections are like reciprocated. Those people are dumb and they deserve a wake up call. But the sheer like fetishistic like way it's portrayed in the movie, it kind of takes me out of it. You know,
The fetish for mutual attraction.
the fet I mean the mommy fetish. You know,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't really think like I really like this movie, but like I don't know, like and I really like how it tells its story and I like how it like sets things up. But I feel like um describing like how it does things and like describing things from a meta standpoint is more interesting than the content itself, but although that is kind of the content.
I mean the I don't know about you, but like I do think it is interesting the way there is kind of a meta commentary on. Excuse me, I'm about to burp. Sorry. Um,
Damn,
there
right in the mic.
I covered my mouth. It was a very powerful burp.
But you can like face away from the mic unless it's just that powerful it reverberated throughout your whole room.
Yeah, I destroyed my house. My neighbor's car alarm went off. Anyways, a lot has been said. There was even like a documentary about it on the Criterion DVD about the way this film sort of commentates on how film is voyeurism in a way. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think the film itself explicitly brings attention to that, except once in the whole film. For the most part, it's mainly just about how this guy is looking at his neighbors' relationships and living through them rather than like just starting one with the woman he already has. There's only like one scene where they like explicitly draw attention to like the morality of looking into private people's lives and sort of living through them and using them as entertainment, which I do think it's an interesting point to make, especially in the age of social media. But
Oh,
the bulk
definitely.
yeah, the bulk of the plot is concerned with proving that someone committed murder, and so it really doesn't come off that well to me, at least. I feel the film is solid otherwise, but its commentary doesn't really resonate with me personally.
Mm. Oh, Criterion heads. Just so you know, there is not a Criterion release of this film.
Really? Then where did I watch it from?
Blu-ray, maybe.
I don't know. I guess I just assumed it was Criterion because it seems like the kind of film that would be in the Criterion collection, and it's like,
It is a good movie, like, and it's as good as a lot of the best films in there.
yeah. I think the only film I have that actually is in the Criterion collection is Pan's Labyrinth, but
Oh, I think you also own what is it? The Grand Budapest Hotel.
oh yeah, I got that too. Yeah, both of those good movies. Not made by Hitchcock though.
No.
No.
Honestly, do you have anything else to say about the film?
I I feel like it's sort of the same thing with Tampopo. It's a very like there's there's a lot to admire here, but I don't think there's like a very deep discussion to be had that hasn't been had by others before. Everything you could say about this film has been said before, uh,
Yeah.
which is
It's definitely a film to watch if you are a filmmaker
yeah,
or want to be one.
yeah. I actually feel like I had more to say about Prince of Egypt, which is a very straightforward film in and of itself, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, this film is kind of straightforward.
yeah. Hmm. Well, boys, we got ourselves into another corner here. Uh,
I mean, if you want to just wrap it up, we can like get into the next recommendation. But
yeah, no reason they all have to be an hour long, you greedy bastards.
no. Um so Rear Window, I would recommend it. I'd give it personally like a very strong 8 out of 10.
I'd probably give it like an 8 or a 9. Uh,
Damn, not a 10?
I don't. Yeah, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Honestly, because anything I can say about this film is just a nitpick. There's really no reason for it to not be a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Um it is not on any streaming services for free that I can see, but it's on Blu-ray, and if you live in North America, it's pretty cheap. It's
Yeah,
not like a really expensive Criterion Blu-ray.
this is one of those films that like thank God like film preservation. Well, I don't know. I don't think this film was ever in danger of being forgotten to history, but it's film preservation probably has a lot to do with like how cheap it is.
Yeah.
You can probably get it. I got it on Blu-ray. I think you also have it on Blu-ray, right?
Yeah, I have like a big Hitchcock collection that it's a part of.
Yeah. Watch this film. Better than masturbating to your neighbors through your own window. Uh,
Arguably, it's better than masturbating in general.
yeah, you know this film is better than sex. What was that one like film podcast that had that as like the ultimate rank of a film?
Um, uh, Let me see. No, I don't think it was a podcast, like just like a podcast itself, or like strictly a podcast. I think there were also just video reviews, and it was like a website. But I do know what you were talking about,
Yeah,
like
they
where
were
like
they were animated
yeah,
at one point. Then they went live action.
yeah, and they had like ratings, and the highest rating was Better Than Sex,
Yeah.
and the lowest rating was Fuck This Movie, I believe.
Have you seen any fuck this movies recently?
No, I try to stay away from movies that I expect to be not very good, but I did see the Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel movies, and they were not very good.
Those Fate. I remember you got me into Fate by recommending ReZero to me, and
No, that's Fate Zero. ReZero is a separate series.
oh, really? Fate. Okay, you recommended Fate Zero to me. I really liked that, and then I was,
Yeah, I even told you not to watch any of the other shows.
and then I
So,
did, and
yeah.
I was underwhelmed.
Yeah, that's why I don't consider myself a Fate fan. I just
Yeah,
like Fate Zero.
yeah.
But anyway, getting off topic a little bit. So, it's my turn to recommend a film for next time. And I've decided on another Japanese film. I tend to really like Japanese movies, I guess. And it's from 2001. It's called All About Lily Shoo Shoo, spelled Chou, Shoo Shoo. All About Lily Shoo Shoo, 2001, directed by Shunji EY.
So, if you're looking forward to next episode, go ahead and see that film and get your cobblers ready too.
I like how I said the name of the movie multiple times and you still didn't even try.
I I tried to make a joke about shoes and it didn't work.
Oh,
It did not work.
I'm sorry.
I I know. Yeah. Anyways, if you don't want to be spoiled on next week's movie, uh, go watch that, and we will get back to you next time.
Peace.
Peace.